Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know by now, my name is Jim Krampitz, and I'm our HR coordinator here at Smitty's Hospital. I want to first take the time to thank you all for attending this busy meeting, but you guys all have busy days and you got a lot to get on with today, so we'll keep things as brief as we can here. But I have one quick question for all of you. What do you call a healthcare provider if he or she is found to be in violated of patient confidentiality? We call them a hypocrite. Now, I know you're all needed back in your department, so I'll try to keep the rest of this conversation as short and to the point as I can. It just very recently brought to my attention that we've had a few incidents occur that may present a problem related to a potential violation of our HIPAA policy. The problem that identified was that employees are potentially discussing and carrying private and protected health information in public areas of the hospitals, like our lobby, in our elevator, and also in our cafeteria. This presents a problem for us that we have to address. Now, it's an extremely important issue that has to be addressed and corrected immediately, lest we would incur some significant fines and penalties. In case some of you are unaware, HIPAA violation is a violation of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, in case any of you are unfamiliar with it. This act was established in '96 to set the standards for confidentiality, security, and transmissibility of personal health information. When just one of our employees' actions results in a HIPAA violation, it not only results in major consequences for them, it's also jeopardizing for our entire organization. If an employee ends up making even a common HIPAA violation in even the smallest way, the entire organization is put at risk, and we face severe penalties and substantial fines and quite possibly a bad reputation. HIPAA violations can result in substantial fines for us ranging from $100 to $1.5 million. Healthcare providers can also be at risk for sanctions, loss of license. An example of a HIPAA violation could be something as easy as just one patient discussing information with another patient in front of people that aren't privy to the conversation. But on the bright side, we have some possible solutions for this. Now, our nurses are on the front lines of our patient communication. So understanding the key ways we can prevent potentially dangerous and disastrous violations is vital. To help us get started, here are some possible solutions I would like you to consider to help ensure that our employees are HIPAA compliant. The first solution is to make sure that staff members aren't violating HIPAA, is to educate them. Inform each employee on HIPAA regulations when any changes are made or new information is released regarding those regulations. Everyone should also be told which penalties they in our organization will be facing if compliance isn't maintained by all. Now, no matter which solution we consider here today, we can also designate safe areas that can be gone over, carried, and discussed about without exposing any potential liability risks of the HIPAA Act. Now, there's another possible solution is that we can hold in-office training to teach each employees what they need to know about the HIPAA privacy and security regulations, and we can do this to try and answer any questions they might have. You or our HIPAA privacy officer, Jack Slider, who's just sitting off here to my left, can conduct these trainings if you need to, or if you use HIPAA security software. Many of those programs offer some training and some seminars for your offices to use when you need them. If you take the necessary time to keep staff members knowledgeable on the HIPAA regulations and devices and standards they must follow in order to keep themselves and the organization HIPAA compliant. Another solution is how they handle the paper and electronic files. It's a tricky business. If they misfile a patient's paperwork in a cabinet or saving it on the wrong computer drive or network, it's a costly mistake. Many employees can fall victim to this while they're distracted. They need to constantly be reminded of employees who deal with patient files and what they're doing, and double check that they're properly storing and saving those files in the right folders and drives. We can go to another solution is to properly dispose of the paper files. Again, this is a human error problem. Too many of these cases have occurred because employees forget or choose not to shred the paper files before throwing them away. An employee could just be having a bad day, an extremely busy day, or just easily downtrodden or distracted by other employees. They just overlook shredding certain papers with the patient's healthcare information on it. The best way to avoid this problem and keep employees from violating the HIPAA Act is switching to an electronic filing system. Now, if you still prefer paper files, then make sure all the staff members double and triple check that they properly dispose of any and all paper files in an appropriate way so it's not left out. Now, there are some good pros that go with trying to do something like this. If we make any of these changes, all the pros are pretty much similar to it, which would be that the employee will be better educated and informed about the additional training. It reduces greatly the possibility of those fines and those lawsuits we talked about a little bit ago. It allows for our organization and even us as employees to have an increased sense of security, and it helps us meet with our corporate compliance standards. Now, those are the pluses. There are some downsides too. Some of the cons to these solutions are that we're going to have additional costs. It's going to be there's setting up and implementing of the training and the educational processes for myself and all of you as well. Another con is it's going to take time to do this. This isn't a simple solution strategy, but it's going to take time to implement the strategy. And that's a critical factor that we have to consider. It also increases your needs as supervisors for your oversight methods to ensure that we're getting across what we need to get across the way we need to get it across. Now, in my experience and everything I've gone over and looking into the situation, in the end, for our organization to remain HIPAA compliant, and each employee has to remain HIPAA compliant, the solution I would be recommending that we integrate is that of educating, informing, and training our employees on what HIPAA regulations they must follow or the consequences they'll face from being non-compliant, as well as reminding them to be smart, use common sense, and just help prevent HIPAA violations from happening easily. As long as we educate and train them in an efficient and proper manner, I feel we ought to be considering requiring education component. If they're going to do that, once we set it up and we implement the process, we can complete HIPAA education on a care learning, which is a program we would implement, and that would have a defined end date. We'll just say, for today's sake, August 31st, so that we know we're going to get the process going and we have a time frame on it. I also want HIPAA policies to be reviewed and acknowledged by each of you every year. And if we did that and we decided to go with this, we would make that a compliant area for each of you to have and expect on your job description, as well as included as part of your annual evaluation. Now, education will take time, but it's our best asset. So I feel we have to make the time to do it. And that's all I have for you today. Let me know how you'd like to proceed from here, if you're all in agreement on my recommendation. If you have any questions regarding anything I've gone over here, I'll be in my office all day, or you can reach me on my mobile, my cell phone. I left my email on the cards in front of the table here for all of you guys with the rest of that contact information too. And just in case some of you don't have the time, I want you to remember that I'm always here for you, but this is a time-sensitive issue. We got to address this before this week is out. I'll be meeting later on today with the members of the board as well as our other leadership teams to try and help determine if these solutions that I'm recommending are going to work out. But I would really like all of your input on it and see what we can do to try and make what our final course of action is going to be regarding this issue as fast as possible. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.